want to give a special shout out today. Today, whether you know it or not, well, let's just say this week, let's go with this week, is Star Trek birthday. 53 years ago. Gene Roddenberry, we offended a lot of people in those days, having what's spoken as a neo-communistic idea like a multiracial crew and sexual equality. We must continue to do that. Happy Star Trek Day to an idea that changed TV and the world 53 years ago today. And it did just that. This notion of people looking up to the stars, this notion of gender equality, the first kiss between an African American and a white man on Star Trek. Kirk being forced to kiss Uhura. And the script didn't necessarily allow them to do it on their own devices. However, it was still within the show itself, and at that point was considered to be a radical concept. This notion that women were equal to men, this notion that races were equal to one another. All of this took place at a time where these were not prevailing ideas. By the same token, it gave something for people to look up to. This is what we can become. And then this is what humanity can become. We got to start somewhere. There has to be some changes. We can't necessarily look at each other and continue the same ways that we have if that's what we want to end up being. And even from the standpoint of the space race, the notion of NASA, all of those things contributed to it. But I will put to you, in the same way that the Harlem Renaissance changed the perspective of the society in regards to African Americans, or at the very least budged it, the same way Will and Grace, the same way the Cosby Show, art influences behavior in the public. And I will put to you that art that allowed society to look at itself in a third world or third person way contributed to that massively. We're still talking about Star Trek today. They're still starting a new series today, and all of it started with this. Fascinating. And this notion of neo-communistic, well, it was. There was no money. Government existed, of course, but there was no cash. At the very least, it got to the point where there was no cash. You still had businesses, and it wasn't this thing that government provided pretty much everything, but anything that you needed, for the most part, you got it free. They had devices that would allow those things to be created, in which case, what's the point in cash when you can just automatically manufacture anything that you need? And you have a society, for the most part, where this notion of capitalism breaks down. In fact, it doesn't even make sense. On one of the episodes, they bring a person back that was a capitalist. And Picard is utterly aghast at the person because that person is like, wait a minute, how will I make money? And Picard is like, what do you mean? What do you need to make money for? I mean, money is a means to an end. You don't necessarily have that particular necessity. And the guy is like, yeah, but how do you? And Picard is like, human development. Human development. This notion of human beings improving themselves. That's what we push for in this society. And this guy is utterly devoid of any relatability to this process. 53 years ago today it started. Also, if I'm not mistaken, it's Bernie Sanders' birthday. But between the two, like Sanders, I love me some Star Trek. So, just wanted to give a shout out. To the crew and the cast of the Enterprise.